Good evening, everybody. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to welcome Remco Bromett to lead us in our invocation as soon as he finishes his snack.
I was ordered to go over there and take them. But anyway, so thank you. Let's pray together. Our God in heaven, we are thankful today for this beautiful day that you gave us. And we want to take that gratitude into our prayer tonight and give you thanks as well for the privilege of health and safety and quality of life that we enjoy here in North Fulton. And we pray for a special blessing on our cities as they are represented here tonight. And we also pray for a special blessing on Chris Lagerbloom and his family as they make the transition from here to Fort Lauderdale. And we pray that you bless that city through them. We ask for tonight's meeting, for your presence, your grace, your wisdom, and your guidance in all that needs to be discussed and all decisions that need to be made. And watch over our citizens and those that serve our cities in so many different capacities. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, February 1st, 2016 to order. Before we get started, just like to recognize a couple special folks out here, Mayor David Belle-Isle and Fulton County Commissioner Bob Ellis and Liz Hausman are here, so thank you for being here tonight. Sudi, if you'll please call the roll and make any announcements.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the February 1st, 2016 regular meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting would like to provide public comment either during the public hearing or during the call for public comment. You are required to complete a public comment card prior to speaking on the item. There is no public comment for consent agenda items or items under first presentation. Those called to speak will be taken in the order that the speaker cards are received by the city clerk prior to the beginning of tonight's meeting. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and organization if applicable. The City Council may allow public comment on either an agenda item or general public comment from a representative of such an organized group, provided that the individual shall file a notarized affidavit that they have the authority to speak on behalf of said organization on a form provided by the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited, so please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outbursts, or dialogue with any person speaking. As I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Here.
Councilmember Karen Thurman.
Here.
Councilmember Matt Kuntz.
Here.
Councilmember Bill Lusk.
Here.
Councilmember Bert Hewitt.
Here.
Councilmember Rick Morick.
Here.
For the record, Councilmember Joe Longoria is absent. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good evening, and we appreciate you being here. I also failed to recognize Diane Freeze here was former Sandy Springs council member, so thank you very much for being here. And Judge Hansford just walked in, so appreciate you being here tonight. All right, City, if you'll please call the next item on the agenda.
The next item this evening is approval of the meeting agenda. This is agenda item number 16022.
Okay, I would like to add an executive session to discuss pending litigation and land acquisition. Also, maybe if we could move reports and presentations right after approval of the agenda. So those two items I would like to change. Anybody else have anything, staff, council? Okay, I'll open for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Second.
All right, I have a motion for approval as modified from Councilmember Hewitt, second, I believe, from Councilmember Morey. Do I have all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, so we can move to reports and presentations. Let's see, this evening got a few special folks here tonight, as I introduced, to present a proclamation and several proclamations to Chris Lagerblum for his dedicated service as our city manager to the citizens of Milton. We're privileged to have, as I said earlier, Commissioner Liz Hausman and Bob Ellis from Fulton County with a proclamation for Chris. Also not with us, but Senator John Albers and Senator Brandon Beach both are unable to be here, but Sarah Ladart is going to read a proclamation and share both from both senators, so we'll have that. So, and then I've got a proclamation. So, if maybe we would let Fulton County, if you guys want to read yours first.
But before the proclamation is read by Commissioner Ellis, I just want to say that you're going to be sorely missed. And as was noted earlier, Fort Lauderdale is blessed to have you. Milton has been blessed to have you all these years. Your commitment and dedication and responsiveness and vision for this city is duly noted and very much appreciated. So it's my honor to be here tonight as we send you off.
Thank you.
All right. Whereas Chris J. Lagerblum has served the city of Milton as city manager since his permanent appointment in 2009 after holding the positions of the city's first director of public safety and interim city manager. And whereas Chris Lagerblum has accepted a position in Fort Lauderdale and will be leaving the city of Milton in February after serving North Fulton for more than 20 years as a policeman in Alpharetta, Milton, and as a city manager for the city of Milton. Whereas before joining the city of Milton, Lagerblum served as an accomplished public safety executive in various capacities with the city of Alpharetta from 1995 to 2006, working his way up through the ranks from police officer to police captain. Whereas as city manager, Lagerblum has been responsible for the day-to-day operations of the city, reports to the mayor and council, leads the operational strategies of the city, strives for increasing fiscal responsibility in government, and believes results are achieved through a capable staff doing many small things right. And whereas the driving force behind the city of Milton, Lagerblum brought more services in-house in a hybrid public-private partnership that became the model for Milton's sister cities looking for ways to cut costs and increase services, resulting in Milton realizing more than $2 million in savings over 2 years, and to continue to operate with an enviable fund balance. And whereas during his time with the city of Milton, Lagerblum has overseen Milton's being named Best Quality of Life in the state of Georgia, among numerous other honors for excellence in financial reporting and budgeting, community development, and communications. And whereas Chris Lagerblum will be greatly missed as he prepares to leave the city of Milton and North Fulton to pursue a new endeavor in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where he is sure to have a powerful impact. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County recognizes Chris Lagerblum for his outstanding services as city manager for the city of Milton and does hereby proclaim Monday, February 1, 2016 as Chris Lagerblum Appreciation Day in Fulton County, Georgia.
Wow. Yeah.
I got all the shots.
Heard that a million times. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
Or we missed the two of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to ask Sarah to step up and read the proclamation from the senators.
Yeah, we don't have the pretty one yet. It's in the mail. But I have a letter from John Albers that he gave me today since he couldn't make it. Dear Chris, congratulations on your new position and your legacy of service in the city of Milton. You have been a tremendous public servant to the city, county, state, and country. I could not be more proud to be your friend and represent you in the Georgia Senate. I am sorry to miss you this evening and have an official Georgia Senate resolution to present to you in the future. He told me he'd bring it to Fort Lauderdale.
Perfect.
He was totally Having known you personally and professionally for so many years makes this letter bittersweet. You have well earned this day and will be profoundly missed. My opinion of your leadership and accomplishments could not be higher, and I greatly admire you. You combined your experience, character, and service to make a real difference in the city of Milton. Your work to help create the public safety department, major projects, partnerships, and service to the community is unmatched. You define the words servant leadership. On behalf of the state of Georgia, thank you for your service. I wish you all the best in your new position and look forward to seeing you soon. May God continue to bless you, my friend. Most sincerely, John Albers. I have a copy of the resolution to read. Whereas Chris Lauterbloom has served North Fulton and the state of Georgia and has been an invaluable member to the region dedicated to service to the community and commitment to excellence for over 20 years. And whereas Chris has served for 11 years with the City of Alpharetta Police Department and through his dedication and achievements became police captain and was appointed to serve as the city manager of the City of Milton, leading them to be named Best Quality of Life in Georgia, 9th in the South, and recognized 5 straight years for excellence in financial reporting. And whereas Chris has leveraged his knowledge, skills, ability, and unwavering work ethic to manage complex projects and achieve goals while demonstrating unsurpassed leadership and commitment to the City of Milton, its citizens, and staff. And Chris dedicates himself with devotion to the service of the residents of the City of Milton and state of Georgia, and has tirelessly represented both with distinction for the betterment of the citizens and in the highest professional manner. And whereas we, the state of Georgia, are proud that Chris has selected our state to live, raise his family, and grow his career, and we express our sincere gratitude to Chris Lauterbloom for his service and contributions to the state of Georgia. Now, therefore, we, the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim our deepest gratitude, and we honor Chris Lauterbloom for his outstanding professional service and personal dedication to the state.
Thank you, Sarah. And also I see Chris Owens with the City of Alpharetta is here tonight, too. Thank you for being here. A couple other special guests out here is Michelle Lagerbloom and Chris's wife and Paul, his son. So thank you for being here. And I've got a proclamation, Chris, for from the City of Milton. I'm going to read it, and then we'll all go down and present it to you. Whereas, this is recognizing City Manager Chris Lagerbloom's service to the City of Milton. Whereas, Chris Lagerbloom is an invaluable member of the community who began serving the citizens of Milton prior to the incorporation of the city as a member of the Milton Steering Committee. And whereas, upon incorporation, Chris was appointed to serve as the first Director of Public Safety for the City of Milton by the Mayor and the City Council. And whereas, when the need arose, Chris was willing to expand his service to the citizens of Milton by assuming the duties and responsibilities of acting and then interim city manager. And whereas, in 2009, Chris assumed the role of city manager and has spent considerable time and energy to gain knowledge of the duties of city manager and has demonstrated unsurpassed leadership and commitment to the City of Milton, its citizens, and its staff. And whereas Chris dedicates himself with devotion to the services of our city and has tirelessly represented the city with distinction for the betterment of the citizens in the highest professional manner during his term as city manager. And whereas we, the council, the staff, and citizens are sad to see you go, we're excited about the opportunities that you will find in your new adventure and continue to make us proud. Whereas we express our gratitude to Chris Lagerbloom for his service and contributions to the City of Milton. And now, therefore, we, the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Milton, do hereby proclaim our deepest gratitude, and we honor Chris Lagerbloom for his outstanding professional service and personal dedication as City Manager. And this is given under my hand and the seal of the City of Milton, Georgia, on the first day of February 2016. And I got to say, a lot of folks will say, well, did you see this comment, or are you surprised Chris was leaving? And I had to be honest, and I said, you know, I honestly did. I said, Chris was too good and too young. Somebody was going to try to snatch him away at some point. So, you know, it's very bittersweet. We certainly hate to see Chris go. He's done a great job for us, but we certainly support you moving forward and excited for the opportunity. You know, we go way back from first time we several of us on the council here, along with Chris, from day one, and Ron Wallace is back here on the governor's committee that got the city started up. So we all go way back. So it's been quite quite a ride. We've accomplished a lot of stuff, and it's been we've all enjoyed it, and we really just appreciate everything that you've done, and proud of you. Thank you to Michelle and Paul for all the late night meetings or things Chris has to go do for the city, but we appreciate all y'all's support too, and we certainly wish you well in Florida, and everybody's going to come down and visit. So, but if the council would join me and Paul and Michelle will present this. Again, just want to thank the Lager Blooms for everything you've done. One thing, we're all sad to see Chris go, but the good thing is, the city of Milton's in a great place. Chris has built a great team. We've got great staff underneath him. I have no doubt that we're just going to continue to move forward and do great things, and it's a testament to you. So, again, it could be a whole lot worse if we were without a city manager and had a lot of issues, but leaving us in good hands. So.
Really good. It's good energy up there. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, now I think we take a little break. We got some refreshments over here. Paul's going to lead the charge. You all right, Chris? Were you surprised?
Face got red there.
Did your face get red?
Yeah, a couple times. Thank you. It's
not going to be that late, is it? Wait a second.
All right, thank you everybody for coming and being here. So we'll continue on with our council meeting and move on to public comment. Next item we have is public comment. Public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the mayor and city council that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during tonight's meeting. There's no discussion on items on the consent agenda or first presentation from the public or from council. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment will complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk. Please remember this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of city council in conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes for remarks. Sudi, if you would please call the first public comment.
We have one public comment this evening, and it comes from Miss Margaret Lutens.
Hello, I'm Margaret Lutens, and I live at 3515 Peacock Road. And I am here to make a general comment. And I had something prepared, which I'm going to read, but rather crafty to have my comment come after any potential audience for what I had to say. I'd like to first let you know that I've been reading the newspapers again, and my comments are driven in part by the Milton Herald State of the City Good. And we have an article here by Mr. Copsey quoting the mayor, so I trust that nothing's been misquoted or twisted, since Mr. Copsey and Mayor Lockwood seem to have a very good relationship. Next, I'd like to let you know that my comment also involves a letter to the editor back on November 25th from Laura Bentley. And this is regarding the emails, and Laura Bentley, in her own words, puts the leaked emails. So, these two newspapers come into my comment, and unlike what I normally do is just speak with you, I thought these issues were important enough that I should write something down and make sure I've covered all the points. So I'm going to read what I've written, which is, Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am aware that during public comment you're not allowed to respond directly to my issues tonight, but I'm requesting a response in a timely manner. I will be brief tonight in my comments in order to focus on two issues that I have commented on in the past that I have not received a response, and therefore I have to assume are being ignored. The first issue is on the topic of city ethics. During a recent council meeting, which was Monday, January 4th, I mentioned that I was bothered by the way in which the city was assigning itself the designation of a city of ethics without any report card on the performance of city officials over this past year. I recall that Council Member Longoria even agreed with my comment and said that having a procedure for evaluating and grading the city employees and elected officials in the very important area of conducting themselves in an ethical manner would only be a prudent and responsible thing to do. Council Member Thurman commented that deferring a vote on the designation might appear that there is a problem in the community. I believe that all of the council agreed that it is a process to evaluate and grade the ethics in the city should be done. That seems logical and reasonable to ask for that. However, I have not seen or heard that this is moving forward or that the citizens have had the opportunity to know what the criteria to measure ethical behavior is. The city attorney did give us a briefing on ethics, which was on Monday, January 11th during a work session, but there's still no feedback on establishing a process and a report card so that the citizens know exactly how that very important designation is being touted. The second area of concern that still has not been addressed, or maybe has been addressed internally and not made public, is the investigation about how the emails relating to the CSO mysteriously appeared in Ms. Bentley's mailbox right before the Planning Commission hearing on the subject. Does the city have a hacker that has been able to phish information off the city servers or hack into the email accounts? The emails in questions did not surface as a result of an open records request, so therefore the leaking, Mrs. Bentley's word, of the emails occurred either illegally or one might say at least inappropriately. I believe only council and a few staff members and city council were privy to those emails from Don Broussard, weren't they? I hope you're all asking yourself, do we have a breach in our security at City Hall with someone potentially from outside hacking into our information, or do we have a breach of ethical behavior within the city or on the city staff? I know this action must concern you as it does me and other citizens of Milton to investigate these circumstances and correct this problem. Both of these issues, the report card on city ethics in 2015 and establishing a procedure for evaluating ethics so that the city can say we truly are a city of ethics, as well as an investigation into the emails that were planted in a Milton resident's mailbox, are issues that are still not resolved, and I think that I and the public have the right to know what is being done about them. Ignoring these issues does not make them go away. I think you know me by now that dismissing the importance of these issues by not answering them only makes me more adamant about getting the answers that I, as a citizen of Milton, deserve. I think an answer by this Friday on the path forward on both of these issues would be adequate time, and I look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
That's all, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna make a general comment here. To this public comment there, I know I've reached out several times. I know I've seen letters from the city. I've seen emails from city staff. I've seen council members that have asked to meet and offered to meet. So I don't think the city anybody has not been answering anything. And in general, I've heard comments about people talking about leaked emails and secret emails and email gate and things like that. Just want to kind of get it straight for the record. Those emails were requested. Those emails are part of a process that was paid for with city tax dollars and our citizens' money for the betterment of the city. That is all public information. I asked for in a public meeting for all those emails to be submitted. So it's on the record. Those emails were provided, and any citizen here, anybody that had them, council staff or whatever, anyone could ask for those. Those were not secret emails. Those were documents, public documents, open records that are available for everybody and our citizens paid for. So, again, I don't know how they came out or who gave them to what, but that is public information, and all anybody has to do is ask for that, and it's available. And the folks that whoever gave those out, that I guess they should be commended for being open and transparent, because it's public city business that taxpayers paid for. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. Sudi, if you'll please read it.
First item is approval of the January 4th, 2016 regular city council meeting minutes. Agenda item number 16023. Next, approval of the January 11th, 2016 city council work session minutes. Agenda item number 16024. Approval of the January 20th, 2016 regular city council meeting minutes. Agenda item number 16025. Next is approval of the financial statements for the period ending December 2015. Agenda item number 16026. Our fifth item is approval of a revision to the Personnel Policy Handbook regarding discipline and grievances. Agenda item number 16027. Next is approval of a contract with Pontifex Consulting Group to provide professional consulting services. Agenda item number 16028. Next is approval of a furniture design consultant agreement between the City of Milton and Office Images, Inc. Agenda item number 16029. And our eighth consent agenda item is approval of a construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Design Build Solutions, Inc., the Garland Company, Inc., doing business as Garland DBS, Inc., for emergency roof repairs at the Thomasburg Senior House. Agenda item number 16030. Next is approval of a construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Strickland Pipeline and Construction, Inc., for Thompson Road stormwater system improvements, emergency repairs. Agenda item number 16031. And our 10th and final consent agenda item this evening is approval of construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Southern Demolition, LLC, for the demolition of structures. Agenda item number 16032.
Mayor, I'll move to approve the consent agenda as prepared by staff.
Second. I have a motion by Councilmember Lawson, a second by Councilmember Kuntz for approval. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimous. Okay, Sudie, if we can move on to our first presentation.
First item is consideration of RZ 1601 to amend the Deerfield Form-Based Code, Chapter 64, Article 20, Article 1, General. Agenda item number 16033. Our second and final first presentation item this evening is consideration of an ordinance to adopt amendments to the fiscal 2016 budget for each fund of the City of Milton, Georgia, amending the amount shown in each budget as expenditures, amending the several items of revenue anticipations, prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations, and prohibiting expenditures to exceed actual funding available. Agenda item number 16034.
Okay. Do I have a motion and second on the first presentation items?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the first presentation as read.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kuntz, second by Councilmember Thurman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, our next item is public hearing. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
This is an alcohol beverage license application. Consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Montezuma Mexican Grill located at 13020 Morris Road, Suite A, Milton, Georgia, 3004. The applicant is Jose Gitron for wine, malt, beverages, and distilled spirits. Agenda item number 16035. Ms. Stacy Inglis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a new establishment that is right around the corner from here on Morris Road. It's pretty good Mexican food. And they are requesting an alcohol license. They have adhered to all of the city's policies and ordinances, and the staff recommends approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Stacy on this? Okay, do we have any public comment on this, Sudie?
We do not, sir.
Okay, I'll close the hearing on that. Is there any questions of council? Not, I'll open up for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we approve agenda item number 16-035. Second.
Okay, I've got a motion for approval of Councilmember Moore, second from Councilmember Hewitt. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Stacy. Okay. We have no items under the zoning agenda or unfinished business, so we'll move to new business. Sudie, if you'll please call those items.
First item is consideration of a grant application to the Department of Homeland Security for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program, sponsored by FEMA. Agenda item number 16036. Chief Robert Edgar.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What we have before you is a request for approval of a grant application from the Department of Homeland Security Assistance to Firefighters Grant. We actually put in for 2 grant requests for this particular process this year. One is for an automated hose roller, which will assist the firefighters in picking up 5-inch hose. We carry 1,000 feet of 5-inch hose on every fire apparatus. Once that hose is laid out, filled with water, it becomes very heavy. We drain the water, but then firefighters have to pick it up, drag it, and carry it to the apparatus to reload it. So this machine, what this does is it actually acts like a dolly, and it automatically rolls the hose as it proceeds forward towards the truck. Then the guys can unroll it right into the truck. It'll help prevent injuries and reduce some of the fatigue after fighting a fire and then having to pick up the hose. We asked for 2 of these, one for the fire apparatus, and then the other one would be used for our training facility. Since we don't have a fire hydrant close to the training facility, we'd have to lay out 5-inch hose from Hickory Flat Road down New Bullpen there to go ahead and put the, not New Bullpen, but Old Bullpen down to the fire training facility. So that would, every time we'd use that facility and flow water, we'd have to do that process. So this will assist with that as well. So each one of those is approximately $5,000 a piece. There is a 10% match on that. The second grant application is for a new Teal Air truck. our large animal rescue truck. Right now we're working out of a donated truck from Atlanta Light and Gas. It's over 10 years old. It has considerable mileage on it, and it was never specifically meant to be a fire apparatus, so it does not meet NFPA standards. But it was a best fit for us. It was donated, didn't cost the department or the city anything. We reconfigured it as best we could, but our goal here is to get a piece of apparatus that's NFPA approved that can serve as our TLAIR unit as well as a medium rescue unit. And as well, we would add additional equipment that we already have throughout the department that we could add to this vehicle that would serve as a service vehicle, which would give us additional ISO points next time we're evaluated. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Chief Edgar?
And again, there is a 10% match on the vehicle as well.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I'll open up for a motion. That means you either did a great job explaining it or a terrible job. I'm going to say great.
Mayor, I'll move to approve a grant application to the Department of Homeland Security for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program sponsored by FEMA.
Second.
Agenda item number 16-036.
Second.
Okay, have a motion for approval from Councilmember Lusk, second by Councilmember Kuntz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Chief. Okay, Sudi, if you'll please call the next item.
Next item is consideration to hold a conservation easement for a standing site property in the city's TDR program located at 13235 Arnold Mill Road, agenda item number 16037. I do have two public comment cards on this.
Okay.
The first one comes from Jack Linden.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Jack Linden at 14810 East Bluff Road. I'm wondering if it'd be possible for me to hold off until city staff gives their report, because they may address any issues that I want to bring up, and I may not need to bring them up at all.
Okay. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. Sometimes it goes the other way. You know, if you ask a question, it may be addressed, but if you'd like, then you can hold off.
It's okay. Thank you.
Who's our next public comment, Sudi?
It's from Mr. Robert Brannon.
Hello, I'm Robbie Brandon at Taylor Road. My wife, Claire, my better half, sitting there. This is my property that is up to be put in the TDR. I did the first TDR that...
Mr. Brandon, would you mind just stating for the record just your address? I know you said Taylor Road.
15144 Taylor Road.
All right, thank you.
Milton, Georgia. I have several of them, but that's where I sleep at night. I believe at one of the previous council meetings, well, I know I was here, the council voted unanimously that the city was able to hold the easements. And so that's the route that we went. The first one was held by an outside trust. This time, the city decided they wanted to hold the easements. So we went that route. I've done all the steps taken, the application process, the surveys. City members have been out to the properties, approved that they meet all the regulations and the guidelines. The wording of the conservation has been agreed upon. So all the years of hard work by the city, which I think is a great program, are coming to fruition. And I'll talk about both of the properties. This one and the next agenda item is mine as well. So I won't get back up here and speak. We'll loop them in. Both of them have all met all the criteria. And I ask that the city council vote based off of their previous, that they can hold the easement and approve these properties. The first one's on Arnold Mill Road, as we all know, is one of the busiest roads in Milton. This road, my property there, has substantial road frontage, which is great. That means there's going to be no development there except one residence on an 11-acre parcel. So it's going to protect that. Plus, there's a lot of land around it, so it's going to limit even more development because the land around it's not going to be able to use this to put a subdivision. So it's probably going to stop additional development on Bethany Road. I bought the property just a few months ago, and it was being marketed as a 4-home development. And I bought it, and obviously now we can't do that. We're only going to have one home, and it's got substantial road frontage on Bethany Road. So I ask that you approve this based off of the unanimous decision that the council made at one of the previous meetings that the city can hold this, and based off of all the due diligence and the work and the expense that I've incurred, to get to this place. And it's a great program, and now we're ready to conserve some more land in the city of Milton. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. All right, Judy, we'll staff's report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'll go ahead and start. And I do want to emphasize something that the speaker just mentioned, is that candidly items number 2 and 3 are functionally the same. Obviously, they deal with different pieces of property, but the underlying request before the council is the same with respect to the approval of the conservation easement. The first item, number 2, pertains to 11.61 acre sending site, for which has been requested 7.25 credits. Item number 3 is a 5.09 acre site, for which has been requested 5.0 credits. I believe Michelle McIntosh Ross may want to come up and provide just a few preliminary comments. And again, Mr. Mayor, hopefully we can at least address some of the bigger picture items, together for both of these items 2 and 3.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'll just, good evening, I'll do the summary for each. First, I'll start with the Arnold Mill. Pursuant to the city's TDR program, an application was submitted to the city requesting consideration to qualify the property at 13235 Arnold Mill Road as a TDR sending site and to place the conservation easement on this property. The applicant has also reserved the right to build a house, which is allowed, a pool and accessory buildings as allowed per the AG1 zoning and the TDR program. After staff reviewed the application and all the documents and also visited the site, it was determined that the site met the criteria to be in the TDR program as a sending site. The Arnold Mill property is 11.61 acres. It's zoned AG1 and is located along Arnold Mill Road. It's north of Ranchette Road, is on the east side. It has a combination of pasture as well as forest, including hardwoods and specimen trees. It also has a 2-acre lake on it. This will contribute to Milton's rural viewshed. As you drive along Arnold Mill Road, you'll continue to see the pasture area there. It has streams as well, and just to note, there's a 100-foot Georgia power easement along the northeast and going northeast to southeast along the property line. Again, it's 11.6 acres that Milton will be conserving in the TDR program, and the property yields 7.25 TDR credits. The Bethany Road piece, any questions? Should I just go through? Okay, the Bethany Road piece, located at 13265 Bethany Road. We also got an application for that, and it also qualifies. It's an AG1 piece of property. It's 5 acres, 5.09. Also, we went out and looked at the property, walked the property, and determined that it does qualify. It's located along Bethany Road. It's on the east side. A house exists on the property at the moment, which would remain or can be rebuilt. It also is a forested property as well as some pasture. It includes hardwoods and specimen trees. No streams, though, but it's still a nice piece of property. And it yields 5 TDR credits. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, members,
right now. Okay.
You want me to go through very quickly the documents in front of you and then sort of go through some recommendations? Or?
Well, let's see, is there any questions so far at this point? If not, yeah, go ahead, Ken.
So what is in front of you tonight with respect to new business items 2 and 3? Again, subject to the distinctions with respect to acreage and the number of credits. The language with respect to the easements is going to be the same. Of course, this is the document, a grant in perpetuity to the city of Milton, who would be the holder of the easements, with respect to the conservation protections in the easement. So what is it a grant? Section 5, it goes through the rights conveyed to the grantee, which would be the city of Milton, and I can summarize them fairly easily. Obviously, the document speaks for itself and is longer than what I'm not going to read the entire easement to you, but it basically provides the city the right to preserve and protect in perpetuity the natural and agricultural features of the protected property. It authorizes the city as grantee to enter the property for purposes of ensuring enforcement and consistency with the granted easement, and of course to enforce. We would have the right to enforce the protected nature of the property. What are prohibited uses and activities with respect to the protected property? First of all, there's to be no use of those development rights that have been stripped away. Obviously, that would seem self-evident, but that's the whole point of the program, right? That we are taking the development rights away, and so therefore you have lost those. Number 2 is there's to be no subdivision of the property, which of course is what you would have expected with respect to a conservation protected piece of property. That's in paragraph B. No construction on the site except as set forth in one of the subsequent sections, section 7, but generally no construction. No mineral extraction, no soil degradation or erosion, or no garbage or refuse dumping or piling on the property. As Michelle mentioned, Section 7 does give the right for an erection of a single-family residential structure on the property, subject to the terms that she mentioned. The city would have in Section 9 the enforcement power with respect to bring various sorts of actions at law or equity with respect to ensuring compliance with the conservation easement. Candidly, this is something that would be filed in the courthouse records. And again, it is my position that we have the legal right to take on this obligation. Now, I will tell you, members of the council, that this afternoon we received a rather spirited communication that took exception to candidly, both the wisdom and the correctness of the city accepting this conservation easement. I have reviewed it in part. Some of the issues I have certainly addressed before. Some of them are policy issues that you may have addressed before or may have considered before. But we have nonetheless received it in the door, and I believe it was copied to all of the City Council as well. So I will say this with respect to both of the items, both items 2 and 3. We are fairly far down the pike at this point. And again, I feel like the advice that I have given to the City Council is correct, and staff is correct. The public policy issues are your issues. Those go to whether decisions should be made, not whether they can be made. But I would propose to you a couple of options if the council is in a mind to consider that. And number 1 option would be if the City Council would like to defer this conservation use easement, both number 2 and 3, till the next work session, perhaps call a special called meeting before the work session and be able to allow me to review it, the letter, and provide you detailed analysis, line by line. Happy to do that. Candidly, there are a few statements in the letter, particularly with respect to some contacts made at the IRS that I might want to follow up on, see if I can duplicate those. That intrigues me for a host of reasons. Number 2, the council may want to, in fact, postpone this to the next regular meeting of the council and simply allow me to provide the same legal opinion. Or another option might be for the council to conditionally approve both of these easements, authorization for the mayor to execute same, subject to me providing some legal analysis to you and the mayor. And once I have contended myself that I have addressed at least all the legal issues in the letter, then the mayor could execute the easements if he so chooses. So those are my 3 thoughts. You may have a 4th. I don't mean to pigeonhole the council.
Okay. Rick?
Ken, maybe you can help us with I've got a question on how the TDRs, the number of TDRs relative to the acreage. Is there a set formula we're using? Does this match? When I would ask
Michelle to answer that.
Yes, we have a formula in the ordinance, and it's it's simple, just to mention it. 1 acre of unconstrained land will get you 1 TDR, but 1 acre of constrained land will only get you 0.25 TDRs. So if you have a combination of constrained and unconstrained, then you have some differences there.
Well, in looking, I guess, at item number 3, if it was 5.09 acres with potential constraint, does that yield 5 TDRs?
Well, let's take, we'll use the 5.9. The first thing is when we put the TDR, the number of acres into the formula, we only take whole numbers at that point. So the 0.9 goes away, or the 0.09 goes away. So it's 5 acres. And if all of that is unconstrained, which it is in this case, then you get 5 TDRs. Now, the situation for the 11.6 acre piece, there is 5 full acres of constrained land, and there's 5 full acres of unconstrained land there. So for the constrained land, it's 1.25 TDR that is yield, and for the unconstrained land is 5 TDR. But then we also have a bonus TDR for any additional 5 acres above the first 5 acres. So there's an additional 5 acres above the first 5, so then you get the extra TDR on that one to equal the 7.25.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Matt?
We'll let Jack get up to speak.
Oh, well, yeah, Jack, if you had public comment.
Thank you very much. Let me say first that I think this is terrific that we're actually starting to see some use of the TDR program. I think that one of the things that encourages me the most about this is I like the idea of the 5-acre parcel with a house on it that's being used as TDR. This seems to me to be a terrific way to begin to address some of the issues that are probably going to start in another 5, 10, 15 years of infill, where people are going to have 5, 10-acre parcels with 1 or 2 houses on it, and they're going to want to subdivide it and put a bunch of common driveways or whatever and get a bunch of houses on it. This is a good way to help people to avoid that issue. The one thing I am concerned about, and it's not enough to want to say I'm not in favor of this, but I'm concerned. When I was on the committee that helped put together the TDR ordinance, I knew that houses on the property were allowed. But the idea of rebuilding the house or taking a piece of property without a house and building a house on it, I didn't realize that was part of the ordinance as well. And that's probably fine, but I just wonder how big a house you can build. You know, if you take this 5-acre parcel with a small, I believe I know what the parcel is, and I think it's a pretty small house on there right now, and build a great big house on it, it's not going to look like a piece of conserved land anymore. And I just want to suggest that maybe the Community Development Department would want to look at the whole issue of maybe putting some regulation around what sort of construction can be done in terms of rebuilding or building on a property that doesn't currently have any structures on it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I would ask to, and if staff has a comment on that, or if there is any kind of limits on, size of a house or whatever.
Well, we don't have any limits on the size of the house. The house, the proposed house does need to be approved, and just with any house in Milton, it needs to come through the community development and to get approval of that with a site plan and so on. So we do look at that as we look at the other AG1 pieces the same way for this one.
Mr. Mayor, that's what the easement says as well. It's very clear that the dwelling unit that can be constructed must be constructed in accordance with the applicable rules and regulations at the time of construction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that may be, a discussion we may have in the future, because I could see, not that somebody would want to, but, if somebody built a 150,000 square house, it would certainly not, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it would certainly defeat the purpose a little bit.
Yeah, the other thing too, in the conservation easement, we do make sure that the future house, that would be away from site, that it would not impede the site along the road viewshed.
Okay.
So you won't see it along the road.
That could be that's a good point there.
So we have that in there.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Karen?
Yeah, Laurel brings up a concern about our liability and the cost of us having to defend a lawsuit if somebody tried to have the conservation easement removed from the property in the future. How often does that actually happen once it's been
I've not seen it happen before.
We can all worry about a lot of different things, but if it's something that's is not something that's going to really happen, I hate to make any kind of decision based on, what might happen in the future.
Well, it's interesting because the letter does raise some fairly significant issues, but then the letter, particularly toward the end, is very careful to say that these issues had never really occurred before, or at least in the opinion of the author, they don't know if they've occurred before. For instance, I think it's framed as whether the IRS or the Attorney General has ever taken a city or local government to task for this. I don't know, but they could. You know, the reality is, Councilmember Thurman, is that jurisdictions occasionally do get sued from time to time, and they get sued for a variety of things. And that's why we have insurance, and that's why we have attorneys, and so we can address those when they come up.
But to me, it seems like that, you know, if we previously voted for the TDR ordinance and as a means to preserve land in perpetuity, then this is one way to be able to do it. Even if it ended up costing us a little bit, it's going to be able to, you know, save 15 acres of property from being developed.
That's right. This is the city of Milton bringing its vision to bear. That is correct.
There's somebody that's willing to do it too.
Yeah.
Not like we're forcing anybody,
Yeah.
forcing the issue on anybody.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions or comments? If not, I'll open up for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 16037.
Second. Okay, I have a motion for approval from Councilmember Hewitt with a second from Councilmember Coons. Any discussion?
Did you include conditions with that, Bert?
Yeah, I included it as presented by the staff. So no.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
There's two of them.
We'll get to that. Thank you. All right, Sudie, if you'll please call next item.
Next item is consideration to hold a conservation easement for a sending site property in the city's TDR program located at 13265 Bethany Road. Agenda item number 16038. Mr. Ken Gerard.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, same presentation.
Okay, Rick?
Just one quick question. As far as financial liability, the only liability we have on this would be basically the inspections. Is that correct? And enforcement?
Well, I think that's the most obvious, but financial implication is the monitoring to ensure compliance with the easement.
Right, but there's no transaction, no cost to the city of dollars or anything at this point. It just puts it in the bank or puts it, we hold the easement in case someone later wants to consider purchasing TDRs from the landowner.
Right. We'll be recording the instrument, of course, and there's been some attorney's fees as far as fashioning the document. I don't want to state that that's not the case, but there's not going to be any significant issue to the extent the city manager and I talked about it earlier. I think that we can handle in a very reasonable way the monitoring.
Yeah, we'll have to inspect it and whatnot yearly, and
I
also,
guess,
if anything, we're able to come up with development.
but no true purchase or any costs associated. That would be down the road if someone were to elect to buy those TDRs from the landowner. Correct?
Is your question whether or not there would be city expense in that? Because that transactional expense then would be borne between two private individuals.
Yes, that's what I'm asking. My assumption is that is the way it would proceed. By us approving this and then monitoring it, that's really our responsibility. But as far as a true cost for that property and for the TDR, that is something that would be negotiated down the road if someone elected to purchase those TDRs from the owner.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And to the extent that we'll monitor and supervise, certainly not at a magnitude that's really impactful at this point either. We'll do it in person until drones do it for us.
But in this case, we have a landowner who's gone through all the steps to actually put it into conservation, paid the fees, done all the work up front without having, at least at this point in time, a known buyer. This is a little bit different than the transaction we had before where they were trying to negotiate while we were working through the first TDR.
That's a fair assessment. Taking it one step further, Mr. Brannon may intend on using, rather than selling the TDR or the development right to some other private person, a transaction, but have access to the use of them as well.
Okay.
Bill?
Further to that point, discussion on inspection. This being a legal instrument, is there a duty of the city to perform these inspections, or is it, in our case, is it solely the duty of the city, or by state law or whatever other legislation that covers this concept here, is there an obligation to have a third party perform these inspections?
I do not believe there's an obligation to have a third party perform them. I believe that the easement grants the rights to enter and inspect and enforce the easement to the city and city personnel, which is how I would assume it would be done. Candidly, not only would there be site inspection, would be my expectation, but given that the city is the regulatory authority that would issue all permits for land disturbance, I think we are a natural entity that would catch anything ongoing on this piece of property that might be in derogation of the easement.
Okay, have we, maybe further to that point then, have we done any estimate of cost to perform these, I guess, annual inspections? I think you brought up the point of using drones or other technology out there. I would imagine there are means and methods available to perform these, and I can't imagine any extraordinary cost in performing these. And would we have the capability with our staff on board right now to perform these inspections?
I'll let Chris address it, but we've discussed that. We, both if conservative conservation manager or existing staff, can go out and inspect, and just like we did with code enforcement and trees and whatnot. So
I would suspect so.
Yeah, and we won't hold any of these things that aren't in Milton. So, it's one thing to say that they'll have annual documented inspections. It's a second thing to say that we'll have staff members that pass by these two properties several times in a month. So, it's not like we have to schedule a trip to Birmingham to do an inspection on a piece of property that we're holding an easement. If we don't look at these properties on a regular basis, we're not in the community enough.
Rick?
If I could suggest, if we don't have, I guess, written guidelines on how we're going to do that from an annual standpoint, so we document it, because it is now our responsibility. I guess request that staff would come up and actually put those in place if we're approving these, so we are prepared to go forward and actually have a process in place and a timing of when we're going to do that.
Agree.
Okay. Matt, will you? Okay. Anybody else? All right. I'll open up for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 16-038.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion for approval from Councilmember Hewitt, second from Councilmember Thurman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous, City. Okay. If you could please call out the next new business item.
Next item is consideration of an application for the abandonment of a portion of Congaree Court. Agenda item number 16039, Mr. Carter Lucas.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an application that we received for the abandonment of a portion of Congaree Court in the Lake Haven subdivision. As part of our process, this is the first step just to allow you to analyze the application and decide whether or not we want to accept it for further review. At this point, staff has made no real determination on the merits of the application, only that it's been received and meets the initial conditions necessary for review of the application, and in no way binds you to any future decisions as to the disposition of this right-of-way. This right-of-way is a small piece at the end of Congaree Court on the site plan you have before you. It's a 50-foot section of right-of-way between lots 22 and lot 23. It was initially intended to provide access to a future phase of the Lake Haven subdivision. However, the property to the south has already been subdivided as a Bryan Ridge subdivision. The intent of the application, as we understand it, is to provide access to a single lot that would be subdivided from the lot to the south in the Bryan Ridge subdivision. 1 to 1.5 acre lot, I believe. And that is it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions on this for Carter? Bill?
Just let me be clear then, that section of roadway is going to be totally abandoned and there will be no access to those 2 lots to the south. Is that correct?
The lots to the south are already accessed either off of Freemanville Road, or there's no internal roads in Bryan Ridge subdivision. They all come off of Freemanville or the Bethany maybe on the other side. So that they already have access.
Okay.
And there's no road through there now. It's just a
That's
right
right.
away.
The section to be abandoned does not contain a road at all at this point. It ends at the end of the cul-de-sac. And it'll be back before you for a formal determination once we get through the application process too.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, I'll open this up for a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item 16-039.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion for approval from Councilmember Hewitt, second from Councilmember Kuntz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, Sudi, if you'll please call the next business item.
Next item is consideration of a construction management at-risk agreement between the City of Milton and New South Construction, Inc. Agenda item number 16040, Mr. Carter Lucas.
Thank you. Well, as important as this item is in the continued development of the city, I thought I would come up with something profound to say, but I am an engineer and I came up with nothing. And so we are presenting tonight our construction services agreement with New South Construction for the construction of City Hall. This represents a cost limitation of $9,807,237. New South was selected from 4 applicants when we issued our RFP as the most qualified contractor that we had to build this facility. They've been working through the construction documents under a pre-construction contract to date and are very familiar with the project to date and have been integrally involved in getting us to the point that we are and ready to start construction. So tonight we would present this CM agreement for your approval so that we can begin construction on City Hall.
Okay. I'll open up for questions or comments on this. Karen?
I have a quick question for our city attorney. My firm does do work for New South. I do not personally do any work at all for them, and I just wanted to make sure that whether or not I needed to recuse myself since I wasn't personally involved in any of their work.
Councilmember Thurman, it dawns on me, and again, that you and I have had a variation on this discussion before, and I think, and I don't, because what I don't want to do is more on me than you. I don't want to give you different advice that I gave you the last time you have had. I think the answer I gave you the last time was out of an abundance of caution. I would go ahead and announce and recuse, but you've already announced and recused. Does that ring?
Well, I mean, last time it was actually someone that I personally did do work with.
You don't handle this account
I do not
at all.
handle anything with them, so that's why I wasn't sure whether or not it was the same situation now or not.
It is and it isn't, and you're right. I think the more direct the relationship, the closer it is that you ought to recuse. In this situation, out of an abundance of caution, I would still go ahead and recuse.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions or comments? Bill?
Excuse me. Section 8, liquidated damages. How is that calculated?
Well, it would be a per day charge.
Councilmember Lusk, where are you?
Sure
Forgive me.
Are you asking how that amount came up?
How it was calculated, right?
How was the actual figure arrived at?
Right.
We looked at the damages that we would incur on any lease extension at this property and tried to reasonably assess that as part of this contract.
Okay. Just checking.
Okay.
Typically has to be based on some actual damages.
Okay. Any other questions? This is exciting to move forward. It's going to be a great project. So, just except for the next item being a change order, everything else.
Yeah. We don't have to.
So I'll open up for a motion on this.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve a construction management and at-risk agreement between the City of Milton and New South Construction Incorporated, agenda item number 16040.
Second the motion.
Okay. Got a motion from Councilmember Kuhn, second from Councilmember Lusk. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimous with Councilmember Thurman abstaining. All right, Sudi, if you'll please call the next item.
Our final item is consideration of a component change order number 1 between the City of Milton and New South Construction, Inc., agenda item number 16041. Mr. Carter Lucas.
Now, I know it seems bad that we approve the contract and right after that we approve a change order, but in this case, the component change order is really integral part of the main CM contract. This represents work through site work, foundations, and I think steel is involved in this, that allows us to go ahead and get going for those packages that have already been priced by the contractor. And so this component change order number 1 represents $5,754,368, which is an aggregate of all those fees that you see and charges that you see on that CCO number 1, but is included as part of the overall cost limitation that we saw in the contract that we just approved. So as we move forward with some of the components and finish up some of the designs to get to an overall GMP, this component change order allows us to go ahead and get started with those pieces of the project that we know what the prices are. So we're asking for approval of this component change order number 1.
Okay, any questions on this? I'll open up for a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item 16-041.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Hewitt, second from Councilmember Morrig. Quick question, Ken, from Karen's perspective. I assume she would abstain, but since the council's already passed the contract, moving forward, any kind of decisions based on the project, would there be a conflict for her to abstain or not?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure there's a conflict at all. This is an appearance issue, and it's only because we're deciding this in real time. So for right now on this issue, I think she ought to abstain. If we have further official actions, I'll talk with the council member and see if there's any further need to do this. This is purely out of abundance of caution.
Okay. Bill?
Question for Carter. Excuse me, Section 5, contractor's compensation. The total maximum amount in this agreement is $27,600.
Let's see.
That seems pretty reasonable.
I'm trying to get caught up to you.
Page 3, Section 5, maximum contract price. Except there's 6 below.
This is in CCO number 1.
The right one?
We're still on the movie.
Agenda item 32.
See page 3 there, it's page 1.
Southern Demolition.
I'm on the wrong one.
What was the number, Bill, that you were
I'm
looking at?
I'm on the wrong one.
He goes on demolition, 27,000.
I got it.
Do you want to go up and look at?
I'm good.
You're good?
Good one.
He's good.
Okay. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimous.
With me abstaining.
So when will we get started, Carter?
Mr. Dave Butler is here with New South Construction.
First of all, thank you all very much. We're excited to be part of the project. It's going to be a really great addition to Milton. We're really pleased to be part of it. We'll be getting our site subcontractor mobilized this week, give them notification tomorrow, and I would expect that on Monday you would see silt fence and erosion control starting to go into place. And so by Monday you should start to see some activity, and the following week actually see some great activity going on.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for being here tonight.
So when will they get the actual notice to proceed?
We'll finish working on the execution of the main contract, so as soon as we can get that executed, insurance and bonds, we'll be able to go ahead and execute that and issue a notice to proceed.
But we're going to let them on the site in the meantime.
We'll work through that this week.
I was thinking we'd have the notice to proceed this week, but if not, we'll need a few days to mobilize. I'd say there's 3 or 4 days for the site contractor to get everything put together after notice to proceed, if it's delayed more than a day or two for this week.
Okay.
And I think all permits, everything is ready to go as far as we know, so we think unless there's some issue with the notice to proceed, we're ready to start out there.
Okay, thanks, Dave. All right, let's see. We will move on to council reports. Any council members have anything they want to report on? Bill?
Excuse me. At GMA, was it last week? Took a course in environmental sustainability. It's probably one of the best courses I've taken down there. A lot of information, obviously, and one of the points they brought up was loans from GFA, and I'm sure Kathleen's familiar with those. And one in particular that they mentioned were loans available for property acquisition along waterways. So he had the same refrain with everything he talked about during that one particular session, and it was the fact that they had more funds available than they had requests for that funding sense. And he mentioned the interest rates on those loans also. I thought it would be worthwhile to check into something like that.
Good deal. Sharon?
No, the fact they said not only were there some loans available, that for certain things there's grants available. So I kind of like that even more so than the loans. So we need to find out what it is that the grants are available for. Free money is always good. Yeah. Yep.
It's not always free. We paid for it.
You betcha.
Added cash.
So, all right, well then I'll move on to staff, Chris.
So we've got a couple of published staff reports tonight. We'll start with police, work our way through. We want to end the discussion with to opening the discussion with Fulton County Peace Blossom we need to have tonight. And then we'll move to executive session. So Chief Prokop.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will be brief. I was just up here a couple of weeks ago, and I know we don't have any new data for you. One thing I just want to inform you about, we've talked a little bit about how we've been trying to improve our traffic safety, really specific accidents, and one thing that we have moved forward on is our training regarding accident investigation. So just this past couple of weeks, we've had a few officers come through some fairly significant training. We just had Officers Bouzian, Har, and Noblet, who is here today, just complete on-scene accident investigation level 1. And contrary to the sound or the name of that course, it's actually an advanced investigation course. And the reason we're actually looking for 100% within our department to have level 1 and level 2 is so we can start really examining and assessing what the contributing factors are to accidents better so than we are doing now, and be able to start offering opportunities to be able to improve traffic safety through both enforcement education and engineering. So we're excited to be moving in that direction. And in that same vein, we just had one of our officers, Officer Lappin, just completed a very, very difficult school, which is drug recognition. He's a drug recognition expert now. It's a DRE. We have had none in our department. He's our first. And he went through 80 hours of some fairly intense training down in Arizona. So now that he's back, he's going to be able to assist us quite a bit. It's very difficult to be able to assess somebody when they are intoxicated by something other than alcohol, and you need special certification. So we're really pleased that he came back with that. Outside of the enforcement realm, this past week we participated over at Cambridge High School, thanks to Stacy and the Milton Rotary, in the Stop Hunger Now event. Our officers were over there with many of the firemen and the Rotary and many students, and packing food for poor people around the world. And in fact, I'm told that there are even pictures floating around with some of my officers in hairnets. I haven't seen them yet. Looking forward to seeing those. But they had a ball over there with the kids and everybody. From what I understand, it was a really great time. Thank you for including us in that. And finally, I probably have the least amount of right to take up anybody's time with this. I just want to say in closing, I want to thank Chris for being the type of leader he is. He obviously was originally what brought me to the city. He was a fantastic boss and a fantastic friend. He gave me the berth and the room that I needed when he really had no reason to trust me. And it allowed me to be able to do the things I need with the cooperation of the outstanding men and women in my department. So, Chris, thank you for everything. I appreciate everything you've done. You know I have family just outside Fort Lauderdale, so you haven't lost me yet. I look forward to visiting you down there. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions for Chief? All right, thank you.
Well, we'll move to Mr. Entertaining down here at the end of the...
Well, I just gave my report a couple of weeks ago, so I don't have much to add, but I did want to follow up on two things. One on our Birmingham Crabapple intersection project. The pre-construction meeting is scheduled for next Tuesday, so that project is moving along. I still think it will probably be late February, March before we actually see any construction going on out there, but GDOT is pushing that project forward, so we look forward to getting that going. And there also was a question on the 140 bridge project. That project is one that is scheduled to be let in November of this year. David, can you bring up the question was, where was the bridge going to go? The current layout shows the new bridge alignment to the north of the existing bridge. So the existing bridge has the the blue letters on it. It's difficult to see, but that alignment shows you about where it's going to go. Currently scheduled to be a 2-lane bridge with 10-foot wide shoulders. So it'll be a substantial improvement over the bridge that's there. Current bridge will stay in place and active, and while the new one is being built. And if I didn't mention it, it's a 2-year-long construction project scheduled at this point. And then followed quickly behind that in 2037 will be the widening of the remainder of State Route 140.
I've heard that before. Originally, it was scheduled for completion in 2010.
And so that's all I had from my last update just a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Carter, how are we doing with the utilities at Hopewell, Birmingham?
AT&T is scheduled to be completed on February 12th, which will allow the contractor to remobilize, get back in there, and move forward to completion on that project.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Carter. All right, Chris.
Moving to Jim Craig.
Would you call that color purple?
Sir?
Would you call that color purple or?
Sure. Times like this, you realize getting colorblind might be a problem.
All in fun, Jim. All in fun.
I understand. Just want to let you all know something I'm very excited to announce. Bell Memorial Park has been selected for the opening ceremonies of the Golden Games on Wednesday, April 27th. We actually had to wrestle it away from Alpharetta, and I ask you all to save the date. Love to have you out there. I want to show this showcase $10 million park off to the whole community. Of course, the Golden Games has participants from South Fulton County, all the northern cities, and it's an exciting day. So I hope you can come out there, and we're going to make a show of it and show exactly what we've got here in Milton. Very excited about that. Boys lacrosse. We hit a new record. Boys lacrosse registration is over 370 participants for spring. And in using a data-driven model, we've decided to play boys lacrosse on both of the rectangular artificial turf fields. And they're still going to need some overflow, and so for that we're going to be using Hopewell Middle School for overflow. Baseball registration, not surprisingly, is down a little bit from previous years. The Hopewell baseball being essentially out of business for a year has resulted in them losing some people, but we're confident that it's going to come back. Their registration number is currently in the low 400s, and again, using the same data-driven model, we're comfortable that we can use fields 3, 4, 5, and 6 with overflow of the baseball field at Hopewell Middle School to accommodate all of their needs for the spring. Basketball is wrapping up. We've got 135 kids in that program. We are deep into the planning on Camp Joyful Souls. With that regard, we participated in an open house sponsored by Forsyth County Schools for folks in the south side of the county, as well as Alpharetta, Milton, and Roswell area. And there was a number of organizations and vendors that do things for people with special needs, either equipment supplies or camps, things like that. We put up a booth, and we had a phenomenal turnout. It went very well. It was very well received. And I'm especially pleased that a couple of our Camp Joyful Souls supervisors and counselors from last year happened to be home on college, came out to help us and support us in that, too. We are currently working on the process of writing up something, and I'm going to come back to you guys about it, but we're looking to see if we can get some grant money for this year. For Camp Joyful Souls, you may recall a couple years ago we were able to get some grant money out of the Fulton County, so there's another opportunity for a grant. We're researching it right now. When we have more details, we'll come back to you with that. Construction started. If you may recall, you approved a roll-up gate at Northwestern Middle School, the purpose of which is to block access up into the school and permit access to bathrooms that are in the area. That gate is started. We ran into some construction delays. We hope to finish it next week. But ultimately, once that's complete, we will have then 6 bathrooms available for usage at Northwestern Middle School during our Eagle Sticks lacrosse programming, as compared to using porta potties. And last thing, the birdhouse repairs. Thank you for approving the contract. The birdhouse repairs start this Friday. That's all I got.
Okay,
Any questions?
Matt?
I just want to say, Bell Memorial is running great from what I'm seeing, and it just seems like everybody's enjoying it, and I know there's a lot of work involved in that, and as we've had it open for a couple months now, still a good job, and just appreciate what you guys.
Well, that was a team effort.
Yes,
Absolutely, it was a team effort.
Big team effort, but very well done.
Yeah, great product. So
Okay.
we're all proud of it. All right, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
All right, I know we've got to get to executive session, so I'm going to speed this up. Community development with a quick update.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. In terms of projects, we're moving forward with our update to our comp plan. The next scheduled meeting of the CPAC will be February 9th. We're still waiting to hear from our grant application to ARC for an LCI update for a master plan for the downtown Milton Crabapple area. We are moving forward with our wayfinding signage study for the downtown Milton. We awarded that contract to Cooper Carey, and that will be a change order to the City Hall contract is how we're going to handle that. In terms of rezonings, we've got a rezoning on Ebenezer Road to rezone from AG1 to CUP. You'll be seeing that application at your March 21st meeting. We're working on the text amendments to expand the rural view shed. The second of two workshops was held by the Planning Commission on January 27th. They'll consider these items at February 24th, and you'll hear these items on March 21st. We also have a text amendment to amend the Deerfield Form-Based Code, and you'll be hearing that at your February 18th meeting. And last but not least, we have Kathy Johnston has accepted the position of Conservation Project Manager, and her first day of employment was today. So she's on board. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Questions for Kevin? All right, thank you, Kevin. Sarah?
Not responsible for anything Sarah says tonight.
So I want to run this idea by you guys and get some feedback on your thoughts on before we spend any more time on it. David has some slides that I put together. It's on the Public Art Initiative. If y'all are familiar with the turtles that are in Sandy Springs, getting public art was brought to me as a thing for me to look into, and I don't like the idea of donated art because then you get whatever somebody chooses to give you. Going this route, we are creating a coffer of money through a fun way to get our citizens involved and participate and showcase some of the local artists here to create a pot of money from which we can go and commission the art that we actually want. The next slide just gives some of the purpose to fund public art, to encourage local exploration. With this, we would create a map that we would put online to show where all the horses are, so people would be encouraged to go and look at all the horses. We would do a hashtag. If you got your picture taken with all of the horses, you would get some sort of congratulations on seeing all of the horses in Milton. Then, like I said, the local artists, I could submit a painting on the next slide, David. So what we would put online is this outline of the horse. Anybody, a second grade class could come up with a design they want to put on the horse. A council that you guys would select would make sure that they were all appropriate and didn't have, a big logo on them or anything that you deemed irresponsible for the city to be involved with. But then from there, they would get a horse, or we would get sponsors. So all of the pictures that were colored, once they were approved, then they would go up on a website. Anybody, whether it was a company or an individual, a resident, could go on and sponsor an artist for $5,000. Then the artist would get $500 up front to help with the cost of the supplies. Upon turning in the horse, they would get another $1,000 to say thank you for their time. So, and I've been told that the cost of the horse and the installation, I think the 2 is inches. It's supposed to be feet. They're big horses. They're like life-size horses. They're like, the head is like up here. Is around $2,000. And then, why are we laughing? Yeah. I thought about that sitting back there. I was like, they're supposed to be 6 foot. but I already turned in my PowerPoint.
It's an expensive horse.
It's
It's
yes,
like the
it's a big
turtles, the
horse.
height of the turtles down in Florida.
And then at the end of the period that we decided for them to be out, whether that was 6 months, a year, whatever we choose that to be, the original sponsor can either purchase it for $5,000, that's what Louisville does, or we could put them up for public auction at the Crabapple Fest or a similar situation like that where, you may get $1,000 for it, you could get $8,000 for it. But the main thing is this creates a pot of money from which we can go and purchase whatever art we want in the future. And the last picture just shows the horses in a meadow. Like, it'd be fun if people who just had a piece of land had, 2 horses out there. So my question here to you is, are y'all interested in this, or should I just put this in a folder and save it for another day?
Well, I'll confess, I was the one that brought up the idea on that, but obviously Sarah did all of the work as far as how to make that implemented. But I've seen it in other cities as well, and and all around from the west, the East Coast as well, and I think it has a great spirit of community for what we can do, especially when we have the horse emblem. I think it's a great idea. I like the idea.
Anybody else?
I think it's worth exploring further.
No.
Who is it? Is it Sandy Springs? Sandy Springs has the turtles?
They have turtles.
There's another city around here that has cows.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my thought is, are we just copying what other cities have done?
It's not
should we-
original. It's not an original idea. But I said it's not an original idea.
Right.
A lot of people have done it. Louisville actually has these horses. That's who I've spoken the most to because they do use these exact horses. And where Sandy Springs, they did a one-time situation. This, I would see this is kind of a revolving, depending on the amount of involvement we get. If we only get 5 people who turn in paintings of horses, the only expense would be the time that Angela and I spent putting the website together to get people excited about it and involved. We don't actually spend a penny on a horse until we get a sponsor. So there's not a large upfront or really any other than our time on it.
Matt?
As you've been just exploring the idea, do we have any interest in sponsors?
I have 2 sponsors already
Really?
for horses,
Okay.
just from talking with people.
I think it certainly could get some community involvement, get some buzz going. I'd be open to exploring it.
Okay.
I don't know, Bert, you said, Karen, Matt, obviously, Bill, Rick. Not Bill.
I think we ought to look at some other forms rather than just my personal opinion.
Well, it might be an easy way to get it started, and then that, when you sell them or auction them off or whatever, that money can be used towards something, on a more.
It looks like it's got support to move forward looking at this.
Okay.
And then we can, as Bert said, to Bill's point. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Well, let's have just a quick little discussion. It's probably the first of many discussions over the course of the spring on what this Fulton County T-SPLOS means. And would like to give you a quick little update of where I think they are tonight, where we are with discussions on this topic.
If you don't mind, Chris, but Carter attended a meeting with me the other day and got to see all the cities discussing it. And after the meeting, it was real nice and easy to say, Carter, now you see why just go around in big circles and plan another meeting to discuss what we did at the last meetings. It drove home the importance of our staff really having to do their homework to come up with something because all the elected officials just talk in a big circle. Great, Chris.
So where we are with the initiative at this point is if it comes forward, it will be a county-driven initiative. I'm just going to kind of tell you what we know at this point and then look to see from the council when and if you want to weigh in from a policy perspective or whether you want to take official Milton position. It would be a county-driven issue. It's being driven really right now on the staff side by Todd Long. And you might recall Todd was very high up in the Georgia Department of Transportation, so probably the right guy for the job if it's going to come forward.
A couple of touch points that you'll hear at this point is how is money distributed to the municipalities within the county if it were to be successful? How do we actually attack projects of regional impact as opposed to just having a bunch of well-paved subdivision streets? How do we put together a plan that would allow the public to even feel confident in voting for a full or portion of a penny later this fall? And what the transit component of that looks like. So these are all the buzzwords that you're going to hear around this topic is T-Splost, is transit, is penny, is fractional penny, is transit entitled to any of the penny, and transit equals MARTA, so we'll just be real clear about that, or are they not? We're watching very closely, and I haven't found it yet because it hasn't hit the website, but we'll need to watch Senate Bill 313 very closely. That is a piece of legislation that I believe Senator Beach is going to introduce, and contextually what I believe it does, at least as it's introduced, is that it would mandate half of a penny for transit. So it's going to become very important to watch that piece of legislation as it moves its way through to see what it enters as versus what it becomes versus the position it might take. So,
and because I believe I agree with you on the intent, but I think is it half a penny or half of the total amount? Whether
that's right.
Whether we're a half penny to a penny, if we're at 3/4 of a penny, I believe it's half, isn't it?
There are ways that with this T-Splost initiative that if every municipality in Fulton County isn't supportive of it, that the ability to even ask for the whole penny goes away. So I believe you're right, Mr. Mayor, that it's half of whatever might be asked for and or approved. So I'll defer now to, Carter's really been our technical person that's been attached to the technical team and some of the planning efforts that have gone on since the first of the year. You all will want to stay involved. You'll want Steve to stay involved with this piece of legislation and what it does and what its potential impacts are. And you'll want to have regular conversations on this T-Splost. I believe if you haven't been reached out to yet by Mayor Bodker, I talked to him earlier tonight. He's on the calling of the masses to, and I don't even know what he's going to ask of you at this point, but I would expect that you'll hear from him at some point. Mr. Mayor, do you want to take over the discussion? I mean, Carter to talk about it. That's kind of what I know.
Johns Creek, their position, and probably read about it or heard about it, as far as MARTA is concerned and all. And I think they're concerned and wanting support in other cities to at least hold off on this until a study is done, and which I'll let Carter, you can, and Chris talk about that, the process with the study with all the I believe all 5 cities have agreed now to do a study, and I believe Johns Creek, that's their concern, is would like to hold off on this SB 313 until the study's done. To whether we need MARTA, we need transportation, rapid transportation, and those items. So, I don't know, Carter, if you want to expand on the study and how trying to get all it's gone back and forth because some cities are just animate against MARTA, and then there's some that are really strong opponents. I believe from our position we're kind of on the sidelines as far as actually touching 400 and all. We don't have much land there, but obviously transportation is very important to us, and our folks getting back and forth. So I'm kind of in the middle on that, and I think a lot of folks aren't. People are the folks that are concerned about MARTA, but in the reality is it's probably, even if it were approved and funded, it'd probably be 20 years before you ever actually saw the rail line up 400. So a lot of things could change between now and then too. So.
All right, well, there's a lot going on with transportation planning right now between our local CTP, the North Fulton CTP, which is gearing up, and now this call for a referendum on transportation projects. And the timing on none of it lines up. And so, ideally, if all of this had occurred after the North Fulton CTP and our CTP was done, we would have our lists together on the projects that had been vetted both through the councils and through the various public communities. So because of that, the North Fulton cities have gotten together and reached out to the who's who of the transportation network, and we're looking at a joint effort with Kimley Horn and Atkins to kind of bring the cities together and focus all of us on developing our lists for the referendum. The list will look at both local needs as well as regional needs, and they'll kind of drive that list for us and help with us in the coordination both with the councils and the public to the extent that we can. This is a relatively short time frame in which we have to put together these lists. They'll be looking for lists, I believe, in May of this year, which will constitute our projects that we would want to see built under this referendum over the next 5 years. So it's a pretty substantial list, and one of the key components of that is not only bringing a list forward, but bringing the right list forward. And so making sure that we have a good mix of bridge projects, road projects, intersection projects, regional projects, coordinating those with Greta, MARTA, all the local agencies, ARC, and transit. And so transit has become a big issue on how much of a component it is with the various jurisdictions. Probably more important maybe on the south side than on the north side, but the 5 different cities all have differing viewpoints, obviously, on the role transit's to play in the list and what we bring forward in May. And so there has been a lot of discussion on how our consultant can help with not only the strategy of the list, but the development of a strategy with MARTA and how that moves forward. So over the next couple of months, you'll see us on numerous occasions with as we begin to develop these lists and bring them forward and make sure that we have the right projects identified for the next 5 years, and hopefully that's coordinated through our CTP process too. So it'll be a fast-moving project over the next few months in order to get something pulled together.
Okay. And I would say, certainly we'll need to get lots of information to council and myself on those lists, and then we've got to balance with the other cities because everybody has to, everybody has to kind of agree and come up with a global plan. So that's the reason that all 5 of the North Fulton cities, I say 5, there's 6, but Mountain Park doesn't really have a big piece of that, is trying to have the one study done that would collaborate everybody's needs into it. And again, just if you haven't, I think Mayor Butker's talked to several of you guys and some of the council members, so we need to kind of keep that on the, if we decide to want to do something, a letter or some kind of a resolution, but I'd like to see the Senate bill first.
I was wanting to send it out tonight, but it hasn't hit the state's website yet. So I don't know that maybe it wasn't introduced today, and maybe it's anticipated to be introduced tomorrow. We reached Senate Bill 310 today on the internet. So if this is 313, we'll see if it.
I just don't want to be for or against something that we don't really.
It's a good idea to figure out what you're going to fight before you fight it. Yeah, because it might not even need fighting. You never know.
Okay. Any questions? All right. I have a motion that we move into executive session for pending litigation and land acquisition.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Maybe they called Chuck.
Yes, I move we adjourn or reconvene.
Reconvene.
Motion to
Second
reconvene.
motion.
All in favor?
All in favor, please say.
Oh, yeah.
Aye.
You're the MPT. Let's
Any
adjourn this
opposed?
mother.
None opposed? All right.
We move
Okay,
to
motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn.